Bridge to Gravito-Scalar Inflation, Connecting Philosophy to Physics. Prologue to Gravito-Scalar Inflation, Neo-Gaian Axiomatics and the Realness Question. Reality is not something delivered from outside or fixed by decree. Rather, it is something that takes shape from within. What we call real is not a static object or predetermined category, but a pattern that holds together under pressure, a structure that arises through coherent relations. To connect philosophy to physics is not to dilute scientific rigor, but to reframe the question. What if the universe becomes real, not through an explosion but through a process of internal resolution? By axiomatic layer, what makes anything real? Reality emerges through structure. It does not arrive fully formed, nor is it imposed from beyond. It is generated when internal components hold together in a way that makes sense within the system. Realness is not a declaration. It is a consequence of coherence. A second principle follows. That which can adapt without disintegrating is more real than what remains rigid. Adaptability is not a weakness, but a mark of viability. Structures that flex and adjust reveal the depth of their formation. Thirdly, coherence must come before control. Systems that endure are not necessarily those that are controlled or predicted, but those whose inner logic allows them to remain intact even when the environment changes. Prediction is a surface trait. Coherence lies deeper. Perception also plays a role. To observe is to engage. Reality is not passively received, but co-shaped by how we attend to it. We do not stand outside the world, watching. We are within it, participating in its unfolding. Finally, tension itself is not a flaw, but a source of form. From the curvature of space-time to the complexity of human emotion, it is often in the stress points that structure is born. Tension brings shape, and it is in this crucible that what is real begins to cohere. The foundational idea of Neo-Gaianism begins with the Earth. The natural world is not a backdrop or passive setting, but a system in motion. Its truth emerges through feedback, balance, and living coherence. However, the Neo-Gaian perspective does not limit this dynamic to ecosystems alone. It extends to abstract domains, to mathematics, to cognition, to cosmological fields. Any system that adjusts, rebalances, and maintains coherence under transformation may be considered alive in a functional sense. This leads to a clear ontological position. Realness is not determined by whether something is physical or abstract, visible or theoretical. It is measured by systemic viability. If a structure can endure through change, if it can evolve without losing form, and if it can sustain internal consistency while adapting to external conditions, then it qualifies as real. What matters is not its category, but its coherence. Gravito-Scalar Inflation, when seen through this lens, becomes more than a model of early universe expansion. It is not simply a description of how space inflated, but an account of how coherence emerged under pressure. The scalar fields in question were not chaotic forces exploding outward. They were internally structured phenomena seeking resolution. Gravity, rather than acting as a force of collapse, functioned as a guide, shaping and curving space in ways that helped coherence take root. Torsion, often regarded as disruptive, may instead be viewed as a portal into deeper structural formation. It was not an interruption, but an inflection point. There is a psychological parallel here that is more than analogy. Human beings, like fields and systems, do not become real through ease or external design. They come into form by holding together through inner strain. Consciousness, ecosystems, and scalar fields all show a capacity for self-adjustment, for maintaining structure while absorbing feedback. This is what Gravito-Scalar Inflation suggests. It is not a tale of origins, but a model of becoming. The universe became real not because something acted upon it from outside, but because it found a way to stabilize from within. In this view, the boundary between philosophy and physics becomes porous. Physics is not just a tool for measurement, but a language for describing how structures take form and hold. It is expressive as well as descriptive. What survives is what coheres. What adapts is what endures. What becomes is what becomes real.